Okay, we're going to start with our first game. It is surprisingly college football playoff implications, I think, on both ends. And maybe some people are going to be surprised by that, but South Carolina travels to Clemson. Clemson, 2.5 point favorites. These are two teams that I think are trending generally in the opposite direction. I think Clemson, that run where Cade Klubnik had, that he was fantastic. I think they benefited a lot from their schedule. Okay. Lenore Sellers right now in this South Carolina Gamecocks team are playing some of the best football in the entire country right now. And I do not think that that's crazy to say at all. When Lenore Sellers is on, that defense, for one, is scary. I mean, Dylan Stewart, Kyle Kennard, Tonka Hemingway, DJ Sanders. Okay. That's 4 NFL players right there that you have on your defensive line. Okay. Not to mention a linebacker, Debo Williams, Ben Martin Scott, whoever you want back there. You got a nice little safety there as well, and a couple corners that have played pretty good football. I mean, you are loaded. And that's not to say Clemson isn't loaded either on the defensive side of the football, led by a couple veterans right there and some young guys as well on that defensive line that are kind of menaces. So, CD, what's the angle right here in this game? As I mean, yeah, this isn't a conference game, right? Both these teams' conference seasons are over, and they're just waiting, on the, I guess, the result, South Carolina results of college football playoffs. If they beat Clemson here, and Clemson has to wait on the result of the Miami game to see whether or not they're in the ACC championship. But this is still going to be a crazy game. This is a heated rivalry. It's on the road. This is going to be awesome.
You said it feels like a playoff game, right? Like it's to me, like underratedly, both sides mean something. Potentially, Clemson obviously has a chance to back their way in if Miami does lose, no matter what this outcome is, right? This is not a conference game, so neither side is it going to affect their conference record. However, for an at-large bid, for things like that, because of certain teams have lost and the chaos that's probably going to ensue right this weekend, a lot of teams playing each other as well ahead of these guys in the rankings. This could end up being a big time factor in the committee's decision making, right? When it comes down to who's going to get into the playoffs. To me, I think an underrated matchup here is going to be that South Carolina offensive line, which has been playing better as of late, versus this Clemson defensive line. South Carolina's defensive line should get the attention because it deserves it. You mentioned all of those guys. They are a bunch of studs, and they get after it. They have given everybody fits since week one, and everyone saw that, and it's been true all season long. I want to mention a couple guys for Clemson. Give me Peter Woods here at edge. A lot of times he's a bigger edge here, so him stopping the run on early downs is going to be pivotal for Clemson to get after, Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders, two guys who have been playing very good football as of late, like you said. And then also TJ Parker, Peyton Page, Shaheem Lawson, guys like that to get after Sellers on third and long. Yeah, and also Clemson's got to get healthy too. Wade Woodaz, linebacker. RJ Mickens, safety. Couple offensive linemen on that left side. Tristan Leahy, Marcus Tate, all banged up. Tyler Brown, Jake Bringstall. Sounds like they'll get a lot of those guys back, which is awesome. I mean, they didn't play in that Citadel game more so because of they were just kind of sitting out. And I think that was a little bit more intentional, getting guys healthy, knowing how important this game is going to be for Clemson and potentially the games they've lost and the mistakes they've made, they can be forgiven by a huge win against your rival as a short favorite here. But man, oh man, I don't know. I like South Carolina in this. I think you get Joshua Simon back. I think you get Jared Brown back, and that could help you offensively pushing the ball down the field, making big time explosive plays. Simon's been their best weapon all year, in the air as a tight end. He's been really, really fun to see. I want to ask you this: is there a quarterback edge here? Because if you ask me, thank you. I've been a guy who has been on this Cade Klubnik, on this Clemson wide receiver, parade. I think not parade, but I've been in their corner all season long, going back to the offseason. I'm like, hey, there's a lot of weapons here. There's a lot of weapons here. And while I still think that might be the case, a couple stats that are interesting to me that really, really stand out. On third down, Clemson is completing 66.3% of its passes. That is fantastic. That's a great clip. But of those 66% of those passes, only 38 have gone for first downs. 38%. That is crazy. So I don't know. I
You
just
think
think
that's
it's not
scheme? You think that's after the catch? You think
maybe check
that's
down. Oh, it's whatever it is. I don't know if it gets fixed against the South Carolina team. I don't think it's something where
well, Clemson's still completing third downs at a pretty decent clip, but it's because they've had third and shorts where they could just press the Phil Maffa button that
yep,
they're not going to be able to press against the South Carolina defense. I'm on South Carolina. I'm on them plus 2.5, and I'm on
yep,
them to win straight up here on the road. I know it's a tough place to play, but uh, I really like this Gamecocks team. Go back to the offseason, right? When I was sitting there saying, look, this Clemson team, the reason why I wasn't on that over, maybe with some other people, was because one, I thought that there were some gettable spots for them in the conference play, right? I thought Virginia Tech on the road might be tough, and I was pretty wrong about that. But one of the reasons was that this South Carolina game was kind of circled for me because, and sometimes I just love being right about things. All right, I got a lot of support from Gamecock fans, but I also got a lot of hate from other people, other fan bases, for saying that this South Carolina team has all of the talent that it needs to do damage to plenty of football teams. I called the upset, on Texas A&M. Uh, I didn't necessarily call the upset on LSU. Actually, I believe I did. Actually, preseason when we talked about breaking down their schedule. South Carolina's win total was at 5.5. I was way over that. I got it early when it was at minus 101. That thing moved to like minus 140. This South Carolina football team has been, was, is a good football team. And now that Lenore Sellers is putting it together with this group of wide receivers, with Joshua Simon at tight end, with Rocket Sanders kind of returning to form, with this offensive line, the improvements that they've made the second half of the season has been remarkable. And they're still young. Like next year, I know when you look at that defensive side of the football, you're like, man, they lose a lot of talent on that side of the ball. But the one thing you're carrying over from South Carolina to next season is honestly a lot of that offensive line, which in a couple years previous to that, you would say, right? They got a lot of pieces to replace, and they weren't even that good. I think this is, kind of a flip situation. I think South Carolina's building something in the trenches. We'll see what Shane Beamer does in the future here, but in week 14, I believe he's going to beat Clemson.
yeah,
CD?
yeah. I get sorry, kind of chilling there. Yeah, I'm with you here. I'm South Carolina. I thought I already picked my bad there. Plus 2.5. I'll take them on the road. At first, it scared me, but you go back and you look at some of their wins and how they have played on the road. You go back to Kentucky. You go back to Alabama, where they should have won that football game. You go back to Vanderbilt, obviously, in Oklahoma as well. Obviously, this might be a little bit more intense because of the pressure that is on both these teams right now and the intensity you're going to feel in a rivalry game, right? With the playoff stakes. South Carolina has not been in this spot here, been in a spot where they are vying for a playoff spot. That does scare me a little bit, but I do trust Shane Beamer. I do trust if you can run the ball and stop the run with, Demetrius Knight there and him locking down Phil Maffa. Like, to me, you can run the ball, you can stop the run. Those things travel in whatever conference you're going to, in whatever environment you're going to be in. Those things are huge for you.
Yeah,
So
and
South,
as good as that D line is for Clemson, and that linebacking core, Barrett Carter, Peter Woods, T.J. Parker, Peyton Page, those guys, it hasn't been perfect stopping the run this year. It hasn't been perfect.
which is concerning for sure. And,
It's
and
cons-
also too, I think South Carolina's secondary, like their front seven gets a lot of hype, which it shouldn't. But O'Donnell Fortune and Collier on the outside there, Kilgore on the inside, Smith and Eman Warrior, the playmakers there. Between those guys, or between the four of the starters, really, they got 12 interceptions, 13 pass breakups. Like, that's pretty playmaker if you ask me. And I could absolutely see Cade Klubnik putting the ball in tough spots, and a pick here and there. We know South Carolina loves to take advantage of those things. So if you're Clemson, you almost got to play mistake free football, even as a short favorite. It's crazy.